The Guardian, keeping you safe on Channel 5.
From ABC News, World News Sunday, here's Forrest Sawyer.
Good evening. Our lead story tonight is in what used to be part of Yugoslavia. All day long, Serbian forces have besieged the cities of Dubrovnik and Sarajevo, trying to crush majority Muslims and Croats who voted to break away from Yugoslavia. But there is hope tonight. The fighting will soon come to an end. By tomorrow, both cities are supposed to be observing a United Nations brokered ceasefire. It does appear now both sides were pushed to that uneasy peace by tough new international sanctions and by the complaints of their own people. David Insor reports.
One day after sanctions, thousands marched in Belgrade in protest against the war and against Serbia's formerly communist regime. They carried a mile-long black ribbon of mourning for the thousands who've died.
We actually want to show that Serbia has another face.
The protesters are divided on whether the UN sanctions are fair, but many fear they will not achieve their purpose.
You mean to ruin the government by the sanctions? You will ruin us.
One day after the sanctions were imposed, they've had one effect already, to make the society even more bitterly divided. Many Serbs are rallying behind the government.
This is an American crime against Serbian nation.
Serbian President Milosevic said the UN's charge that he is backing the slaughter in Bosnia-Herzegovina and elsewhere is false.
Every citizen in this country knows that we didn't do that.
At Belgrade Airport today, crowds of frustrated travelers waited for flights that never took off, canceled by orders of the United Nations. And despite talk of ceasefires, the fighting continued in Bosnia and in Croatia, along with the propaganda war. Serbian television showing Serbian towns in flames, Croatian television showing how a Croatian town and church looked after the Serbian irregulars had gotten finished with it. David Ensor, ABC News, Belgrade.
Now the environmental wars in just 3 days. The biggest meeting of world leaders in history opens in Rio de Janeiro, a UN conference on global environmental policies. And the U.S. is under fire for standing in the way of efforts to protect the planet. Today, the Bush administration tried some damage control, but it may be viewed as too little, too late. Here's ABC's Barry Dunsmore.
As the Earth Summit convenes this week in Rio, the Bush administration is being sharply criticized by environmentalists. With the world headed toward environmental catastrophe, they charge the U.S. has been watering down and blocking the conference planners' attempts to achieve some modest international agreements. Today on This Week with David Brinkley, Environmental Protection Agency Director William Riley defended the administration's approach to the upcoming Earth Summit and signaled a new U.S. initiative.
What we did in the U.S. position, which has prevailed with respect to targets and timetables, is to make commitments we are absolutely certain we can and will honor. The President will announce tomorrow a major initiative affecting worldwide forestry.
Riley said the U.S. will spend more than $100 million to help those countries willing to conserve their forests. And it will work for an international treaty to protect forests. The destruction of the world's rainforest is one of the major items to be discussed in Rio. The Bush initiative is clearly a response to the negative reaction which followed Friday's announcement that the U.S. would not sign the Biological Diversity Treaty. That was a proposed agreement to preserve the world's plants, animals, and natural resources. For rejecting that agreement and for weakening the Treaty on Global Warming, Senator Albert Gore today charged the president with abdicating his responsibility to lead the world in protecting the environment.
President Bush prevented the world from reaching some meaningful commitments that would get this process off to a good start. These agreements are going to be mainly symbolic, but they'll be important nonetheless.
The Earth Summit would be no picnic for any American president. The U.S. is seen as both the problem and the solution to saving the global environment. Such are the burdens of being the world's richest country and its biggest polluter. Barry Dunsmore, ABC News, Washington.
Now, when the conferees do meet and talk about solutions, they may want to listen to the representatives from Namibia. Mark Litke reports on an experiment there that is working in a region called Caprivi.
It has survived war and drought and the greed of man. It's endangered wildlife, back from the brink of extinction, In this rugged and remote region of Namibia called Caprivi, living proof that conservation and wildlife protection work. In this environment, who could possibly question man's efforts to save what some call Africa's greatest legacy? Well, this woman, for one, whose crops have been trampled by an elephant. And this man, whose cattle have been killed by a lion. These are the people of Caprivi, whose ancestors lived on and worked this land long before outsiders came, damaged the environment, then set about making it right again. Yet they could face prosecution if they graze their cattle too near a protected river, or kill a lion to protect their livestock. As one angry villager asks, if a man is less important than an animal, who will build the country? But what you see here is not a revolt. It is part of the process that makes Caprivi such a success story.
We must protect and conserve the animals. We must also be concerned about what's happening to the people.
Unlike traditional game parks, the people of Caprivi have not been forced out. Instead, they work closely with the government's wildlife rangers. Problems like land disputes are settled through dialogue. Villagers are deputized as game wardens to track down animals that have attacked livestock. Here, the conservationists listen to the people on how best to preserve the environment.
People here are very good naturalists and keen observers. They use the resources so they know better than anyone else which resources are becoming difficult to get.
Local villagers also share in the profits from tourism, the region's largest source of revenue.
If they're involved with the resource, then they will ensure that its long-term survival or sustainability, if you like, is maintained.
The Caprivi experiment is now being tried in other areas of southern Africa, though it will not be easy to duplicate the level of mutual respect that exists here. That has taken years of hard work and a shared belief in what's at stake should they fail.
There is a danger that one day the children will come to their grandfathers and say, "Tell me, what did an elephant look like? Because I don't know where to find one."
Mark Lipke, ABC News in Southern Africa.
And still ahead, why the big question in Tuesday's California primary is, who cares? Later in the broadcast, Libya's new campaign to convince the West it is out of the terrorism business. And a look at the cold, cruel world awaiting the class of '92.
You people are not prepared. You're well educated, and you look cute, but that's not going to get it.
World News Sunday, brought to you by mountain-grown Folgers Crystals.
The time, morning.
I'd like to wake up to this coffee in the morning.
The place, the 5-star Arizona Biltmore.
The aroma is wonderfully enticing.
The coffee, not their usual fresh brewed. Today, for our specially invited guests, it's been secretly switched to Folgers Crystals.
It's great. I think it's very rich.
It would help wake us up.
Oh, it would help wake us up even
Get
better.
us going.
This would start my day off great.
Mountain-grown Folgers Crystals. Coffee rich enough to be served in America's finest restaurants.
I'll drink to that.
For painful gas, which would you choose? Your antacid or Gas-X, the tablet made for gas. It's extra strength, 100% simethicone to fight gas faster. Faster than your antacid. Fight gas right with Gas-X.
Don't get hit by an annual fee. Carry the card that doesn't charge one. And keep yourself out of the hole. It pays to discover.
Contract talks between AT&T and unions representing more than 127,000 workers went into overtime today as both sides sought to avert a nationwide strike. The union contracts expired at midnight last night, but negotiators are saying progress is being made, and a settlement, they say, is within reach. The presidential primary season is coming to a close with the last major contest this Tuesday. Voting takes place in 6 states from New Jersey to California. Now, because of its size and the large number of delegates it will send to the party conventions, the California primary is generating the most interest, except in California itself. ABC's Chris Bury explains why.
All the presidential horses went through their paces here this weekend, but without a horse race, the California primary will serve as a rubber stamp to the nominations of President Bush and Governor Clinton. The man getting the most attention here is not on the ballot, and write-ins aren't allowed. Even so, none of the above seems to be a common refrain.
I'm so disenchanted with government the way it is that I want to see new blood in there.
I think it's kind of humdrum. I don't think people are really that enthused about it.
One reason for that, fallout from the Los Angeles riots has pushed politics off the front pages. Whatever interest is here, it seems, is not for president, but Congress. 12 candidates, including 2 women, are vying for both California Senate seats. For a lot of voters, it's not easy to tell the players without a scorecard.
Right now, it's a mess, trying to figure it out.
More than $20 million worth of political commercials add to the clutter and confusion. In California, more than any other state, politicians depend on paid advertising to get their message out.
We can't be tough enough on lawbreakers.
Exploiting riot footage is big this election, and the low road is well-traveled, too.
Leona Helmsley and Dianne Feinstein?
The nastiest ad of all from Senate candidate Gray Davis stretches to compare charges of improper reporting of campaign spending against Dianne Feinstein to the felony crimes of Leona Helmsley. All this, of course, tends to turn off voters even more.
Absolutely disgusted.
What does it all mean when Californians vote on Tuesday?
The level of enthusiasm for the candidates and the level of ignorance and uncertainty all combine to create the potential for an all-time low turnout.
For all that ails California, and in spite of the political noise, the primary seems to have generated very little passion and a huge swell of ho-hum. Chris Bury, ABC News, Los Angeles.
One other campaign note, Ross Perot has been coming under closer scrutiny for seeking an early discharge from the Navy. At first, you may recall, Perot said he wanted out because he didn't like the immoral behavior of the men he had to serve with. Later, he blamed his request on the captain of his ship. Perot said that as a lieutenant, he refused to spend the crew's recreation money on refurbishing then-Captain Gerald Scott's cabin, and he wouldn't let the captain get at the ship's liquor supply. Today, Scott called Perot a liar.
That is absolutely and unequivocally, totally false. I guess I'm surprised, flabbergasted, irritated, and totally unbelieving. I wonder...
Nevertheless, Scott says he is supporting Perot for president. In a moment, Libya's claimed that it is no longer training terrorists.
Tonight, America speaks out for what it wants. Hello, Domino's.
America wants our America's favorite pizza feast. Pepperoni, sausage, mushroom. A medium's just $8.99.
This just in. Nobody knows like Domino's.
How you like pizza at home?
Taste it, Grandpa.
He never would have tried this with his old adhesive.
Fixodent holds stronger than any other adhesive. It even stands up to the hottest liquids. For the strongest hold you can get, Fixodent and forget it.
Code for 148 1900, solid or nothing. 81 clear. 814 clear. You two is the 31.
Of all the things around your house that need batteries, there's one thing that needs a good, fresh battery most of all. See your Allstate agent for a free home fire safety brochure. And please, check the battery in your smoke detector often.
He was wearing those night vision goggles they make. Otherwise, he never could have seen me. Rescued me.
They taught me computer drafting. I earned a degree. Now I've got a job.
They make the parts that connect my pacemaker. Never thought I'd be around to tell you that.
We built this business to build your dreams.
All cars are made with sheets of metal. But one of these sheets is actually a sandwich of steel, resin, and steel used by Lexus to help quiet the cabin of the LS 400. Care to guess which one?
Well, Muammar Gaddafi's Libya has been a virtual outcast in the world community because of the Pan Am 103 case. Now it appears Libya is trying to repair its relations with the rest of the world. It's taken a number of steps to convince other countries that it's getting out of the business of terrorism, but so far, with little success. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Pierre Salinger is in Tripoli.
The Libyans claim that the West has called this camp, Jodiam Forrest, a terrorist training camp. But it is clearly a recreational area for Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and according to its director, has been since 1961. This visit was organized by the Libyan government as another attempt to persuade the outside world that it has closed all terrorist camps in the country. The truth is that Jodiam Forrest has never been listed by Western intelligence sources as a terrorist training camp. In March, State Department spokeswoman Margaret Tutwiler acknowledged that Libya had closed down 5 terrorist camps, but added that it was a cosmetic operation and charged that other camps are still operating. But on May 11th, Libya's Foreign Minister Ibrahim Bashari sent a long message to UN Secretary General Boutros Ghali, affirming once again that Libya had shut down all terrorist camps in the country and inviting the United Nations to send an inspection team to Libya to verify his statement. Conversations with senior officials revealed that Bashari has received positive signals in response from the United Nations. Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi has also been trying to establish dialogue with Washington and London, but so far has failed.
We must have a peaceful solution through negotiations. We have called for a negotiated solution. We have asked for direct contact.
Earlier, ABC News was able to verify that Al-Qala, a terrorist training camp identified by the CIA, had been closed. On a visit to Al-Qala, which had been used by the Abu Nidal terrorist movement, it was clear it had become a Palestinian refugee camp. Intelligence information indicates Abu Nidal has been thrown out of Libya and is now operating in the Sudan. Pierre Salinger, ABC News, Tripoli.
And when we return, the best kind of racket, one that helps the children of Harlem.
Morning. What's for breakfast in modern times?
Oh, just cereal. Back in my century, we enjoyed grains kept whole for a more natural, hearty taste.
You great grains.
You bet it's great. Toasted wheat, oats, and barley. Kept whole, full of flavor. Great. Dates, raisins, even pecans. This really is delicious.
Now I'm hungry. Got another bowl?
What was great back then is great grains now. A great new cereal from Post. Your routine, rugged, grueling, day after day. It's even harder when athlete's foot routinely comes back. But today, there's prescription strength Lotrimin AF. Many types of fungus can cause athlete's foot. But Lotrimin AF is a broad spectrum medicine, so it kills them all. No wonder it's the brand most recommended by doctors. So while there's no finish line for you, there is for your athlete's foot. Lotrimin AF.
Dean Witter believed every success story was unique.
We have a sacred trust to protect our investors.
Whether it's the success of a small business,
to maintain conservative policies,
saving for college,
to put the interest of our clients first,
or planning an early retirement. From getting in on the ground floor to getting all the way to the top, Dean Witter is there to help every client make it every step of the way. Dean Witter.
We measure success one investor at a time.
What are you doing?
Pouring on A1.
Before? Don't you do that after?
Yeah, but today I'm doing it before instead of after.
It looks different doing it before. Think it'll taste different after? Because before, you did it after.
Try it. Whoa, before you eat it all.
Oh, after you.
A1. It's how steak is done.
On the American agenda, the environment, encouraging third world nations not to develop the way we did. On ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings this week.
It is time once again for sports. Ray Gandolf is in New York. He has a look at a couple of generations of success for the Harlem Tennis League, along with today's sports highlights. Ray.
Thank you, Forrest. Rain disrupted the French Open today, but not before the two top seeds marched into the quarterfinals. Or staggered, in the case of Monica Seles in the far court here. She was down 4-1 in the third set to Akiko Kijimuta. Then she won 5 games in a row to survive. Jim Courier, the #1 men's seed and the defending champion, dispatched Andrei Medvedev, the big Ukrainian teenager, in straight sets. So much for the rich and famous. For a couple of hundred kids in New York City's Harlem, tennis is not a yellow brick road to fame and fortune. It's more important than that.
Jamie, aim higher over the net.
If you give them something in their lives when they're young, like discipline and pride and self-esteem, that goes a lot further than, you know, trying to take care of it later after they've gotten into trouble.
If it wasn't for this program, I think I'd be out on the streets right now. Especially where I live, there's a lot of negativity out there, and, you know, there are a lot of negative role models.
Saeed Day will enter Hampton University in Virginia in the fall on a tennis scholarship, thanks to many years in the Harlem Junior Tennis League.
That's it. Keep working. Get back. Let it bounce. See yourself hitting that perfect shot.
The program's director, Karen Buchholz, a graduate of the University of Arizona and a veteran of 3 years on the Pro Tour, came through the Harlem program herself.
As a child growing up, it served such a great purpose in my life. I mean, I could have easily hung out and done drugs just like some other people in high school and things like that. And when I was depressed or something like, you know, some problems came up, I would go and play tennis. I would just stay on the courts for hours and hours until I felt better, and it was like a therapy.
During the school year, at a huge armory on the Harlem River, young kids come from 4 to 6 in the afternoon. Older kids like Saeed Day and Senian Hicks come from 6 to 8. Karen Buchholz is there all the time.
She's nice. She's great. She pushes us a lot on the court. Before we play tennis, we have to do like 1,000,000 exercises.
She's tough.
Yeah, she is.
She's a great person. She's warm, you know, sweet, and, you know, I don't know, the kids just love her.
You know, the bureaucratic stuff is always a headache, but, you know, once I get back out on the court and I hit with the kids or I talk to the kids and hang out with them, and then all that other stuff goes away.
Most of that other stuff is trying to make ends meet.
Fast feet, you guys, really fast!
New York City contributes $10,000 a year to the program, less than 10% of its budget. A big insurance conglomerate underwrites a celebrity tournament, and the rest is whatever Karen Buchholz and her staff can hustle up.
What's the matter?
For some 200 kids, the tennis and the tutoring, if they need it, is free.
You have to maintain a C average to be in the program. And so we collect their report cards, and if they're having problems, we don't just throw them out and say, oh, you know, sorry you didn't make the cut, goodbye. We really try to identify their problem areas and then provide tutoring.
Today, some kids were given awards for special achievements. The program shuts down until the fall. Some kids will move on. But Karen Buchholz, whose special achievement this is, will be back.
2 laps, no cutting the corners.
Teaching little rich kids babysitting or country club tennis, that wasn't really for me. I really liked the down and dirty sort of, you know, Harlem tennis.
No walking.
Harlem Junior Tennis, an escape from and preparation for the real world. Forrest?
Thank you, Ray. When we come back, we're going to hear from some graduates entering the real world right now. The class of '92.
They came in with their big pumps and stopped the flooding. Saved my business. All I've worked for.
Build this business.
Your people really care. It meant a lot to us.
They lent me the money. Without it, Debbie couldn't have started college.
We built this business to build your dreams.
If you want the granola that's low in fat, naturally you'd choose this one, New Kellogg's low-fat granola. But if you want the one that was overwhelmingly preferred in taste tests, you'd still pick this one.
Kellogg's low-fat granola. Better taste, half the fat.
Last time I stained my house with that other brand. This time, I'm using Thompson Stain.
Only Thompson's House and Deck Stain contains Thompson's Water Seal. It waterproofs better than even the leading brand's premium stain.
Now that's beautiful protection.
Thompson Stain.
A mother's search for her daughter's killer on the next Good Morning America real-life murder mystery.
And it seems smokers can't smoke anywhere. How the laws are changing on Good Morning America.
Late spring always means college graduation, with students tossing their caps in the air and heading out into the real world. The only problem is this year, the real world has some very hard edges. We asked John Martin to check in with the class of '92 to see if they're ready for what's ahead.
They are struggling with our hopes and their dreams.
Graduates, please put on your hoods.
At Georgetown, near the seat of American government, a Californian finds contradiction.
Right now, I think we're living in a world in which I wake up and come to graduation and 100,000 children wake up on the street homeless.
For many, graduation is a promise kept. They are moving on. At the University of Maryland, they get a warning.
You people are not prepared. You're well educated and you look cute, but that's not going to get it.
What they get is no secret: less pay, fewer jobs.
We all have these dreams of being able to change the world and all, but right now we'll be lucky if we can fit into it.
Still, they remember the dream.
Make a lot of money, raise a family, live happily ever after.
Frederick Clarence Knight, summa cum laude.
In Atlanta, at Morehouse College, where Martin Luther King dreamed, they look for change.
I think we need to have a black president. That's the change, I think.
Some had it easy.
If I had freedom, do anything I want, now I'm like, oh my God, I got to work the rest of my life, you know?
To the west, in Texas, where they are waving goodbye at Austin, the governor is saying that the timing of life is complicated.
And a few of us are fortunate enough to get the things we want when we want them.
A new businessman thinks it can happen.
Hey, when you're at the bottom, the only way to go is up, so that's what I'm hoping for.
And a new economist sees hope.
You know, the LA riots woke up the country, you know, to the problems that we have, and I think we can work it out.
In California, from Cal State Los Angeles, Salvador Del Toro is already working it out. He has a job, teaching, something that kept him on the sidelines this month when friends looted stores.
Why wasn't I looting? Because I have options. I have choices. I have a career. I have a degree. I have a stability. Becoming a teacher, making $29,000 a year.
To the north, at Berkeley, they are told again they are the best and the brightest, and they believe it will help them make a difference.
We can restore America to its full potential. It's going to take some time, and it's going to take some pain, some adjustment, but I think that we can do it.
So the class of '92 is moving into the world at a bad moment, with urban riots and economic decay. Yet some of its graduates remain remarkably hopeful about the future. John Martin, ABC News, Washington.
You mix that hope with some hard work and they'll get a lot done. That's World News Sunday. I'm Forrest Sawyer. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Sunday, it's Eastwood and Reynolds. Clint Eastwood and Burt Reynolds together in City Heat Sunday.
Most sellathons have so many whistles and balloons, it's hard to find the deal in all that camouflage. Well, your Chrysler Plymouth dealers think it's time to get real. So here it is. No hype, no pressure, and absolutely clear. Plymouth Sundance America, with all these features, including automatic, air conditioning, and an airbag. Priced at $9,000 for limited time only. Well, we had to add a little pressure. Real advantages for the real world, only at your local Chrysler Plymouth dealers. See them today.
It might not make a big difference to you that your Farm Bureau agent is one of the industry's best trained. Then again, maybe it will. You might not be impressed that your Farm Bureau agent is always looking for innovative insurance and financial solutions. But someday, you might be.